All right, here we go. Part 2 of our epic homeschool workstation, desk build, maker space, multimedia area. In part 1, we built the desk, the legs, all that kind of stuff, got it attached to the wall. Here in part 2, we're gonna start making our cubbies that go underneath. Everything's gonna be on casters. It's gonna be super simple, just plywood, some butt joints, some glue, some screws. These things are gonna be rock solid. They're gonna look great. We're gonna use 3/4 inch birch plywood for everything. We're gonna start by breaking down our plywood and then we'll get after it. So I've got my plywood rough cut into 13-inch wide strips, 2 strips, because that's how wide the Cricut cart and the shelves, dividers, all that kind of stuff's gonna be. So 13 is my big, most common number. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of make some rough lines on where my length's gonna be, and I'm gonna take these over to my miter saw and cut those down to the right length. My shop isn't very big, and so for me to be able to try to rip down these on the table saw, it doesn't work out very well. So about 4 foot wide, 4 foot by 4 foot, that's about as big as I can go because my shop's so small. So I do as much as I can out here with the rip cut. Thing works like a champ. I love it. I use it on every job. And with the combination of that and my miter saw, it works like a champ. So here in the tiny shop, space is a premium. So I have to use everything I possibly can to make things work sometimes. And my miter saw is no different. If you can see my planer back here, I made my miter saw stand the right height to where the miter saw table would be the same height as my outfeed table on my planer. That way, if I have something long, I can use my planer, open up the feed, slide it in and out, and I have just an extension table. Now you might be asking, well, what about repeatable cuts? Well, I don't have a way to do repeatable cuts right now. In the past, I've clamped a piece of wood to the fence here with something else on the end as a stop. You know, you can't get real crazy with it. You gotta be super gentle, but it works in a pinch. Love this saw. That was a 13-inch crosscut on this sucker without any trouble. We're just gonna kind of rough cut them, do 13 inches, then we'll set our fence on our table saw, make sure everything's nice and perfectly 13. We'll even run the other ones back through too. It's more work, but to make sure it's perfect, it's worth it. Okay, now that we got everything cut down, we can get the table saw cleared off because it's my assembly table right now. We can set a rip fence and start getting everything cut to finish size. Okay, just finished all the sanding of all of those pieces, and I mean all the sanding. I don't know if you guys noticed, but my saw, I've not changed out the blade on my Delta Cruiser saw. And I think it's got probably a 40 tooth construction rip kind of blade on it, which is fine for construction work. 2x4s, 2x12s, stuff like that, construction grade lumber, but for birch plywood, it's really not a good idea. So I have a new 80 tooth Diablo blade, thin curve laser cut. It's pretty sweet. I had one on my other saw and it went with it when I got rid of it. I'm just gonna go with it. This is utility furniture. I say utility furniture. It's gonna be sitting in a place where 5 school-age kids are gonna be putting their feet on it and kicking it and getting in and out of it and all kinds of stuff. So I'm really not worried about those sides. If I was building this for somebody else, I'd scrap it and probably start over, go get a new blade, put it on the saw, take my time, tape all the joints, tape all my cut lines, stuff like that. But this is just for us. And it's gonna get beat up. And when it gets beat up, we're gonna pull it out, we're gonna give it a coat of paint, and then we'll put it back in and we'll use it for another 5 or 6 years. So All right, little 1/8 inch roundover just on the inside. Now I'm gonna match that bevel that's on the desktop itself. And I'm gonna go ahead and bevel this edge and probably this edge too. I might as well go ahead and do that one too. Let's just sand down all my mistakes and we'll be ready to put about 18 coats of poly on this sucker. All right, we got the cubby with the coat of poly on there. While it's drying, we're gonna go ahead and get started on the printer cart. This thing's gonna be 17 inches by 21 inches and only about 4 inches tall. So what we are gonna do is, I have this is the one sheet of plywood that we had left over, the piece that we had left over from our cubby. So we're gonna use it to make this cart out of. And I do not feel comfortable running this across my table saw at this length. So I'm gonna use my Craig rip cut here to cut this down to roughly 21 inches, and then I'll clean it up on the table saw and make it nice and perfect. That should give us everything that we need now. Turn that over, let's see how it looks. All right.
Yeah, as long as you're on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real good.
Yeah, that's gonna work out just fine.
Good.
Cool.
Got 5 at a time.
Oh, well, hammer time.
Well, that's gonna wrap up our epic homeschool desk build. I gotta tell you, this thing turned out way better than I ever expected. Thanks for checking it out. And while you're at it, check out this video right here that YouTube thinks that you'll like, and make sure you hit that subscribe button right down there. See you next time.